everyone, to the Should I Sell My Chevron Stock Retirement Workshop. With me is our Chevron expert and veteran, Len Hanson. Len, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Yeah.
Good. So we're going to let everybody get in, join this meeting. And while we do that, we have some disclosures. If you want a copy of our ADV, please give us a call or drop a note in chat. We will be monitoring chat. We are live. It's 4:30 on the 15th, and we have time for questions and answer at the end. And so the chat is open. We have Jen on the call with us, listed here as the Warren Street Wealth Box. She's going to be monitoring any chat, and she'll also be sharing some links as we go through the workshop tonight. Len and I's goal is to answer a question. So at the end, if you have some, we'd love to take them. So let's take a look at the team here, who we are. This is Warren Street Wealth Advisors. That's myself. I was going to say the gray-haired guy, but apparently there's two of us in this photo. So you've got both the gray-haired guys here to share with you everything we know, and hopefully we can help you plan for retirement. So let's just jump right into it. The very first thing here, it talks about Chevron stock and the 5-year snapshot. So before the call and for the last few months, Len and I have been talking about this quite a bit. Len has been worked for Chevron for almost 30 years. He's been an advisor off and on for 20. He's been with Warren Street for 12. And we have seen Chevron stock do a lot of things in its time. And now it's shot up. And so what a lot of people are doing are seeing their values of their 401ks go way up. And so the big question we get is, should I sell some stock? Should I buy more? Len, help me tell this group. I know we can't give them anything very specific here, but what should they do with their Chevron stock and kind of what's going on or what's been going on?
Well, I mean, we're going to try to cover this in this webinar, but I think what we just want people to do is start to think about how far you are from retirement. And if you look at this chart and look back to 2020, when the pandemic started, the stock was down to $59 a share. We don't think we're going back there, but just think about how you felt if you were mostly Chevron stock at that point, and see this move in Chevron stock. What would you do if we're at 185 and change? Maybe I think it was a little higher than that today. How would you feel if the stock went back down to, let's say, 130 range, which is basically the high for the last 10 years prior to this year? And think about what you would do if that happened. Would you still be able to retire? Does it make sense to just take a little bit off the top? We're not talking about selling everything.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not talking about selling everything, because you have ESOP shares that we've talked about quite a bit that you definitely most likely want to hold on to. And that's usually maybe 20% of, if somebody has been around for 25, 30 years, they probably have 20% of their retirement in ESOP stock. And that's something you want to hold on to. So it's just starting the conversation. Should you be selling a little bit? When I trade stocks myself, I do a little bit of trading. When a stock makes a move like this, I start to take some off the top. And that's all we're really talking about here. It's a little more important than when it's your 401k and it's, your future. This is what you're going to live off of. How much risk do you want to take?
Yeah. And for anybody who's listening who hasn't maybe listened to one of these or talked to Len before about this, is the ESOP shares is kind of, our stance as an organization is those are the shares to keep. So you can sell common stock, right? So if you were going to sell and then take advantage of the tax benefits of net unrealized appreciation. So we're not going to get into the details to that. However, we do have past presentations where we covered those items. So if you go to warrenstreet.com and go to the oil and gas section of who we serve, there's a resources page there. And if you get to our YouTube channel, maybe Jen, before the call is over, we can drop that link in. But we have older recordings talking very specific on this. But to save time for everybody listening is, if you are going to sell the common stock, keep the ESOP shares because of the tax advantage you can utilize at retirement. Now, fast forward with that, Len knows who I'm talking about because he's been a client of ours for years, but he's a retired Chevron employee and lives in Torrance, and just had an annual review with him today. fact, I just got back from LA maybe an hour ago. This individual did exactly what we talked about, sold common stock, kept their ESOP shares. They've now taken advantage of NUA retirement. This is, 3-4 years ago, or 4 or 5 years ago, now retired, and has Chevron stock. And now we're trying to come up with the right amount to sell, right? So we want to take advantage. And what is the number? It's different for everybody. But like Len, and I kind of agree, it's somewhere between 10 and 20% of your total portfolio in one company. In your 401k is kind of a benchmark that we're comfortable with, because you have a pension plan as well that represents sometimes like the other half of your portfolio. So call that 5 to 10% of any one company. And in today's example, your 401k maybe 10 to 20% of the Chevron stock, which, like Len said, it kind of works out. That's usually what the ESOP shares works out to be for someone attending this event. It's just pretty common.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go here. The 10-year. We take a look at the 10-year. I'm gonna go back up one, get my eyes adjusted here. So 5-year, we see what's taking place. If you look 10-year, it's not as bad. Or excuse me, it's not as good, but still you can see how tightly correlated the Chevron stock is to the S&P 500 and even the all country world index. But what you do avoid by having the S&P 500 as opposed to just one company is what we saw during the pandemic, where everything came down, but then we saw oil prices down, $20 a barrel. That's a specific, industry issue as opposed to, a global event or, a recession here in the U.S. So obviously we see our clients with all sorts of different investments, but one thing that we want to just look at is if you are going to own one single company, just at least get rid of the single security risk. We don't want to see Chevron become the next, BP as an example. So these are all things to consider when you want to have a discussion with us about your Chevron stock. Brent crude, so oil. It's nice to keep things in perspective, because what's interesting is, Len has conversations with our Chevron clients and prospective clients daily, and when the price was down in the low 70s and 80s, and even it dipped. What was the intraday low, Len? Was it the lowest Chevron was? Was it like 59?
Was the 59? I think it was $59 a share. I remember $59 a share.
Yeah. So $59 a share, but it kind of hovered in that $70 to $80 space for enough time where a lot of our clients were like, okay, what do we do now? And back then we hear a lot of people saying, well, we should sell the Chevron stock. And we were like, no, like this is not the time to sell. Right? I mean, call this old fashioned, but you want to buy low and sell high. Well, guess what? Like things are high. Back then oil was at $20 a barrel. It's now at 92. But we see it hovering here in that, $100 range for a while. It had a small little dip recently, a little bounce back, but we see Brent crude prices, at a healthy number again. $100 a barrel is a number we've heard before. So if we think that it's, prices are up, that would be the time to start getting rid of some stock. All right, so let's switch gears here a little bit. So we talked about Chevron stock. We're going to come back to that for the question and answer. I know a lot of people are saying probably the magic number, how much do I sell individually? It's a case-by-case decision. But what we want to do is talk about some of the things that we help our clients with every day here at Warren Street. And one of the exciting things about the switch from the Chevron plan, 401k plan from Vanguard to Fidelity is that we have a partnership with Fidelity. And so we can actually help clients through the brokerage link manage their 401k while they're still working. There's a lot of asterisks with that, as far as the amount that can go over and what type of funds. But for the clients who do want help, there's new options available for you. So let's take a look here real quick. I got to adjust my screen here real quick. I apologize. There we go. We have 6 steps for a successful retirement. So 1, attend a workshop that is today. So you can check that one off. Read the retirement handbook that's available on our website. And we're going to cover it right now, as well as the retirement toolkit. Also, if you go to warrenstreet.com and go to who we serve, there's an oil and gas resource page, and a lot of this information is there. So let's jump right in. The handbook. So first, have a plan, and we mean it as financial planners. Obviously, we're pretty serious about planning. So let's get one made for you. Time your retirement. So this is something that's kind of cool with Chevron. So Len, tell everybody kind of what the magic month is, or the magic time of year to retire at Chevron.
Well, typically there's two things to keep in mind. Is first of all, your vacation that, and if you have 30 years, you have 6 weeks of vacation a year. If you retire, if you decide to go into January of 2023, let's say, for instance, you've got 6 weeks of vacation. Now, you can take that 6 weeks of vacation pending, I guess, a supervisor's approval. And you can take that 6 weeks of vacation, basically take the month of January and half of February off and get paid for that, and then start your vacation and start your retirement at that point. If you don't take that, you lose that vacation time. So say, for instance, you worked into next July and you've taken a week of vacation, you're only going to get paid out for half of your vacation because you've worked a full, half a year instead of the full year. So you only get paid for half your vacation and minus the week that you took. So the important thing to remember is you can most likely, it depends on supervisor. I understand that part. You could work into or take vacation, take the whole month of February and or a whole month of January, half of February, and then start retirement. The other milestone to look at is if you want to, if you're considering the bonuses that you guys get every year. If you don't work until April 1st, you get 0% of the bonus for the year that you leave. So let's say you work until April 1st, 2023. When the bonus comes out for 2023, sometime usually March of 2024, you'll get a quarter of that bonus. So those are the two milestones to keep in mind when it comes to your pocketbook and the way Chevron system currently works.
Yeah, that's so helpful, because I know with a lot of the employers we serve, it's, well, you can retire whenever. So everybody, it's different for everyone. This is not this is not at every company. So it is specific to Chevron. So if you have a spouse that works somewhere else, this is where we, spend a lot of time is figuring out what benefits are available and what kind of milestones there are, or ages they need to reach, or deadlines that need to be met in order to take advantage of these options. So that's great, Len. Early retirement, typical IRS age of 59 and a half. So it doesn't mean you have to wait until that date. There's other ways to plan around that. Specifically at Chevron, you can leave money in the 401k plan to avoid penalties pre 59 and a half. So just because you retire does not mean you need to move your 401k. So if you wanted to retire at, say, age 58 and you're worried about pre 59 and a half penalties, we could help you calculate, how much you'd want to leave in the 401k plan to take distributions directly from the 401k plan, which avoids penalties for what they call the 55 rule. And the 55 rule allows you to take distributions direct from a qualified retirement plan, such as a 401k, to avoid penalties. But if you do roll your entire 401k over to an IRA, that's a problem on the penalties. Now it's subject to 59 and a half. So then if you did need to take withdrawals from there, you would want to do a 72T distribution. And that's just a way to take substantially equal periodic payments from your 401k plan without paying any penalties. So long short of it is if you're retiring early, you should not have to pay penalties. There's plenty of ways to plan around those penalties. Obviously, say goodbye to debt. We're talking real specific here, black and white. Credit card debt. If you have any credit card debt, get it paid off before you retire. We have had clients who retire with credit card debt. And the very first thing we do is take a distribution to pay off the credit card debt. If markets return 6 to 8%, average annual returns over a 30-year period in retirement, but your credit card is paying, or you're being charged 15 or 20% interest, there's no sense in carrying debt into retirement. So please work as hard as you can in getting that debt paid off. Handbook. So build up emergency savings. So once that credit card is paid off, emergency reserves, we like 6 months. That's, a nice number. If fixed living expenses are, let's say, $5,000 a month, we're talking about $30,000 in cash savings. This is like, maybe it's at the credit union, not invested. Sure, if you want to put some of that money into a higher interest CD, or maybe you're interested in, I bonds, or, Barclays, or Citi, Marcus. There's a lot of different options for a high interest savings account. That's fine, but this is cash on hand for true emergencies. We're going to cover this also in the toolkit, budgeted out. So if you don't know what that number is for fixed living expenses, if you don't know if it's around $5,000 a month, spend 15 minutes and complete a budget. It's a real helpful exercise to plan your retirement. I'm going to skip this one because we have a whole slide for Social Security. But one thing to note is you don't have to take it early if you don't need it. Waiting until full retirement age is usually a better benefit for you, and will actually take pressure off your investments for the rest of retirement by waiting a little bit longer to receive a higher amount than taking it early at 62. Investor retirement. So this is just a review of all your investments, making sure your investments are appropriate for your age, goals, risk tolerance, time horizon, and objectives. And we look at that, specific to today as Chevron stock is if you own more than 20% in Chevron stock, it's probably time to reevaluate. We usually see extremes. So we'll see like somebody in all cash, not sure how to get back into the market, or we'll see somebody in all Chevron stock. Or maybe just all stocks. So they're in the, instead of just Chevron, maybe they're in, a large US large cap or, S&P 500 type positions. And while fixed income might feel boring or US Treasuries might feel boring, those are the investments that have held up well during downtimes. Specifically this year, looking back at the pandemic in February and March of 2020. And then prior to that was the Great Recession in 2007, 8, 9, really when that correction happened. Not a correction, but it was a peak to trough 50% downtime. So we want to own some of that boring stuff, especially in retirement. And so now's a good time to review the investments you have. Like we said in the beginning, have a plan. So Social Security, some of the things to look at here, there's a lot of different dates when you're getting ready to retire. We get asked all the time, what's the best age to retire? And it depends. But here are some dates that are helpful for Social Security. So ages to claim, 62 to 70. Full retirement age, sometimes referred to as FRA, is age 66 or 67, depending on the year you were born. And the largest benefit age is 70, meaning you get an 8% annual increase for waiting. So if you wait from age 67 to 70, you'll get an 8% increase, 8% increase, 8% increase. But beyond age 70, you do not receive any more increases by waiting. So once you reach age 70, we would advise you to collect. Full retirement age is what we see as most common. So if you're healthy today, wait. And then every month you wait, you do get a credit. So if it's 62 and a half or 64 and 3 months, you are rewarded for waiting those periods. It's not like 62 or 66. You do receive increased benefits by waiting each month during a year in which you're going to receive Social Security. So things to consider, collecting while working, usually not advised, especially for this group. Everybody's making 80, 100, $150,000 a year. It just doesn't make sense to collect it while you're earning. You'll be, essentially reduced benefits and just doesn't make sense. Health is the big one to consider. So if you're healthy today, continue to wait. If you think you'll live into your 80s, the math says you should wait until full retirement age, so 66, 67. And then if you're married and you have spousal benefits, that is something to weigh as well, because it may make sense if you have a younger spouse and let's say you're the higher wage earner, to wait as long as possible, because the spousal benefits for your spouse at a younger age might be much higher for a longer period of time. So those are some things just to consider when you are making a decision which benefit to collect. And the last one here is important. Social Security going away. I mean, we all know that the benefits have some troubles ahead. What will most likely happen is, and I've said this many times before, but it's worth repeating, is doing what we do when a client isn't ready to retire. So we can defer the date, we can save more, and we can live on less. So Social Security will do the same. They'll defer the date. They've done it before, 65, 6, 7. Maybe for new payers, it'll become 68. They can, they don't have the ability to save more. What they'll do is save more is tax more. And then instead of live on less, they will provide less in benefit. So that'll be the most likely solution to the current issue. And what I see being something that will actually pass is for new payers. So for my parents who are retired, and my dad's retirement income is 78. The new cost of living adjustment that's coming out of just a tick over 8% is going to be a nice benefit. I don't anticipate any issues for people currently collecting and currently paying into the system, or changes for them. Where I see it happening, and I'm by no means an expert in this space, but if I just had to look at it from a distance, I see for new payers, right, their benefit's going to be 68, a little bit smaller, and maybe a higher tax rate, something like that for all. So I don't think it goes away. I do think there are easy ways to fix it. It's just going to take some time. Toolkit, this is available on the website as well. So this is the toolkit. This is a net worth scorecard. Just assets, liabilities, subtract the two, and then you have your net worth. A great place to start if you aren't sure what you have, just to get everything on one page. And then if you were to have a conversation with Len or any financial planner, you just want to get a good assessment of where you're at today, starting with this is a real nice conversation starter. I have a 401k, my spouse has a 403b, I have a pension, we have no debt, or we have a credit card, we have a student loan, we have, right? It all gets listed here, and it's easy for us to glance at and start sharing some feedback right away. And then the budget, please don't spend more than 15 minutes on this. So vision, important to think why we're doing all this. Why are we working so hard? This is what we've heard over the years is most common. Hobbies, more time pursuing hobbies, spending time with family, travel, of course, time either playing sports or watching our kids and grandkids, compete in their soccer games. Going back to school, I've seen more of this with the benefits of free tuition for some, and then volunteering. Where are you going to live? Obviously, the dark red is most expensive. We see a lot of clients leaving California, but let's think about some reasons to stay. Obviously, the beaches, parks, the diverse culture, entertainment, family, friends, and the medical care. Staying in California, that does have its benefits. It is expensive, but there are some nice perks. Some additional ones is as a resident of California, California is one of the largest municipal bond markets, and so there's tax advantages and benefits of tax-free muni bond income there. So not a bad deal. Part-time work, some part-time employers are offering medical benefits for their employees. So people who do need medical insurance, there's some perks there. Property tax as well, staying in California, carrying a carrying your low property tax basis to a home if you were to downsize has become very common. So there's some advantages there. Of course, the weather, and last but not least, in and out. So next steps, if you want to get started with us, just go to our site. In fact, Jen, if you could put Len's link in for anybody who wants to schedule a free consultation, that would be good. It's already there. Thank you. Consultation, if you decide to move forward, we'd send you an engagement letter, go over pricing, give you lots of time to think about all that stuff. But then you would be scheduling a meeting with a lead advisor on our team, one of our CFPs who would join us for that call. Talk about your plan, goals, and then put together the solutions. We are wrapping up here on time. We do have some questions, so I'm going to go through the stuff pretty quick here. We can answer any questions you have about the investment platform. Here are our fees. I like to hold this out. I know Len, when we first met years ago, was attending one of our competitors' retirement workshops, and they would never talk about fees, and they would pretend there were no fees. Len, I'm not going to say who it was. You can tell people one-on-one. But if you can't get an answer from an advisor, most likely they work on commission, and most likely they work on very high commissions, where we see sometimes these advisors earning 7 or 8% upon deposit on some of the junk that they sell. If we're charging 1% a year for easy math, it's going to take us 7 or 8 years of keeping you as a happy client of ours, and you're free to go at any time. We have no contracts, no annual agreements. And so we have to service a family for 7 to 8 years to earn, right, the equivalent of what that advisor would earn upon deposit in a single day of work. Obviously, they would meet with you a few times, take you to some nice lunches and do all that stuff. But that's just kind of give you some context of commission versus fee, and being fiduciaries. Our clients are free to go at any time, although we don't encourage it. But we do like to let them know that, because it's your money, they're your investments, and you shouldn't be stuck anywhere. Our standard of care, this is what we provide all clients who are working with us. Obviously, we don't do everything at once, but these are all the things that we service for our clients on an as-needed basis. So we just start with what's the highest priority. And usually for a conversation like this, it's retirement. So we start there, but then we just start checking through each item and putting the planning agenda together and a priorities calendar to help facilitate everything. Let's take a look here. Yep, so that's it. So if you go to warrenstreet.com or warrenstreetwealth.com, they'll both take you there to the schedule page. You can walk through to schedule a complimentary consultation with Len Hanson, and Len will spend that hour with you answering any questions you have. And we're going to now move real quick over to questions. So let's take a look here. It looks like we have 2 questions. All right. I've shifted my 401k to an IRA to make it easier to buy and sell investments. Was this a good idea? Len, I'll let you take this one. So we have somebody here shifted their 401k to an IRA, and it's just saying to make it easier to buy and sell investments. Was this a good idea? What do you think, Len?
Well, it brings up questions, right? I mean, obviously they were 59 and a half when they did this. Otherwise they would not be able to transfer their 401k out to an IRA.
That's true. So everybody's listening. So if it's an existing Chevron 401k, you'd have to be 59 and a half to do this, or it doesn't say it here, Lynn, but this could maybe also be a previous employer, right?
Right. The other question, I have another question. So one of the reasons we don't do this, typically we wait for people to retire, is they have that balance of the ESOP shares. And those
Right.
ESOP shares, when you do this transaction, Fidelity requires you to roll everything out to take advantage of the NUA. If you're going to take advantage of the NUA, everything has to move in 1 year. So if you're still an employee making, let's say, $150,000 a year, and then you have the cost basis of those NUA shares. Now I feel like I'm confusing people, but I have to say this. You're going to have cost basis on those NUA shares, maybe let's say $30,000. That's added to your income in the year that you do the transaction. So I'm assuming this person did not just went ahead and sold all the shares and did not.
Yeah. This individual already said they did not move their ESOP shares, so they were able to leave them. It looks like so, or they either said, let me just check here, did not roll out the ESOP shares, so they were able to leave them. Okay, so some follow up there definitely, because it is tricky. And okay, the other one, Lynn, too, while we're on that subject, there was another question earlier, was how do I know which ones are common Chevron stock versus ESOP?
So when you go to your 401k, you pull up your investments, it'll list all of your investments that you currently have. And there's 2 line items. There's one for common stock, and there's one that'll say Chevron ESOP shares. So they're exactly the same price, per share, but they're different shares. So yeah, you can see it right there. If you have trouble finding it, reach out to me. I'll help you understand the ESOP shares, and I'll help you find so you can see the difference between the two. Now, if you work for the company, it's only been about 8 years now that since they stopped issuing ESOP shares. So if you've only been working for the company for 8 years, maybe you don't have any.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many years you have actually with the company, so I can't answer that. But if you need help, let me know. I'll help you.
Well, it looks like that was the end of the questions. Any follow-up, and I know we blew through this quickly. We're just trying to keep it short. Everyone's wrapping up their day of work. So it is now 5:01. We are right on time. I do want to wrap this up. I want to thank everybody for joining. There's a lot more to this, obviously, but our goal is just to quickly share with you all that, yes, we understand these benefits. We understand all the nuances, and we offer a complimentary consultation. We also offer, Len is a resource, and he'd be happy on that consultation to share with you what to do. He's not going to try to twist your arm to make you a client. We only want to work with people that value the integration of investments and planning and who want us as their partner. So we will not bug you, spam you, or harass you in any regard. So my suggestion is book time with Len, call him, pick his brain, get some help. Even if you don't work with us, that's fine. Tell your friends about us. And we want to be a resource for you in the Chevron community, and specifically out of the El Segundo area. So that's where Len lives and worked. And we want to give back to that community. And we also want to say thank you to all our clients who trusted us over the years and referred us to their friends and family. So Len, anything to add before we wrap it up?
No, I think we covered everything.
Perfect.
That I can think of right now.
So thank you everybody for joining. We're going to make the replay available. And like I said earlier, feel free to reach out to us and schedule some time. We'll have another one of these probably in the beginning of the year, January, February. So look for your inbox as we sent you an invitation to this one for any future events. And then, like I said in the beginning, our resources page, warrenstreet.com, go to who we serve. And then there's an oil and gas resources page where a lot of this information is there for you. And you can get a hold of us on that page as well. So thank you everybody for attending and have a wonderful Thanksgiving week. Talk to you soon.